first reaction to it, and what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, it's a very bad sign of things escalating in Canada. I mean, we've already seen a big uptick in extremist violence, especially post October 7th. The Calistanis have been going on for a few years as well. We've seen fire bombings of synagogues, shooting up of Jewish day schools. We've seen, of course, the attack on the Monder by the Calistanis. But this is disturbing because it presents a sort of a new type of escalation, because this is an attack on a cafe that opened a few days ago, owned by a famous Indian comedian. But what's interesting about this one is the Barwa Khalsa International, a listed terrorist organization in both countries, behind the Barwa Khalsa infamously blew up the Air India 182. They're taking responsibility for it. So not only, I mean, it'd be one thing if this was sort of a random attack where it was a wink wink. This is like sort of a Khalistani extortion racket type thing, and we have that going on. But this is another step up the ladder where it's an act of violence and intimidation, where they then post the social media themselves, post their crime online. They post their crime online, and then they take responsibility for it. This is usually what you expect in Yemen or Pakistan or Somalia, or other places in the Middle East where a terrorist attack happens, and then a group enthusiastically wants to take credit for it because they're a terror organization, and terror organizations usually are able to sort of live in lawless lands. That's why, again, you see terrorist organizations pop up in Yemen and Somalia, places that are generally considered lawless and don't really have functioning governments. This is Canada, where we allegedly do have a functioning government. So this is a massive test to Mark Carney's leadership. We saw the country get out of control under Justin Trudeau's tenure. This is Mark Carney's first major test on security. And we will see if Mark Carney's Canada is in any way different than Justin Trudeau's Canada. With British Columbia now waking up to this news, we will see over the next 12 hours or so just how the establishment responds to this terrorist attack.
Daniel, in Surrey, we have seen such attacks in the past as well. How do you analyze this recent attack?
Yeah, I find this one interesting because it's the claiming credit and the public posting of it. That's what really sets us off from the other one. So yes, Surrey has seen violence. We've seen Palestinian intimidation. This is nothing new, but it's when they go up the ladder that presents a real problem, because it then inspires other extremists. Because again, the Khalistanis aren't the only extremist group active in Canada. You have Muslim Brotherhood offshoots. You have Hezbollah supporters. And again, their churches are being attacked by mostly radical Marxists. Synagogues are being attacked. So when one group goes up the escalation ladder, it usually moves the needle forward for all other groups if nothing's done about it. So when this is now a sort of we've climbed a ladder rung in Canada today. It is sort of imperative that Mark Carney make sure and set some deterrents that you do not go up the ladder, in which case you'll see a decrease in crime in Canada. But if this is sort of swept away and the RCMP and Surrey police and start staring at their feet and kicking rocks, and the provincial government says this is a federal issue, and the federal government says it's a provincial issue, and the provincial government says, well, it's local, and the local says, no, it's federal, and the federal says, no, it's provincial, right? If you get into that cycle where everyone starts deferring responsibility, then you'll see a massive increase in violence. You'll see, because that's what a sort of a terrorist mentality is they always check to see what they can get away with. So if you say, okay, you can get away with shooting up a restaurant in the middle of the night, posting about it, taking responsibility for it, well, now how do you, so now you have people openly claiming responsibility for crimes, posting their own crimes, and then getting away with it. It's going to set, what's the next step? What's the next? Well, are they going to shoot at a restaurant when people are actually inside of it when it's closed? Are they going to, what's the next level of terrorist intimidation they're going to do? So hopefully we don't figure that out. Hopefully this is deterred. Hopefully there is actual real consequences. Hopefully, the people behind this are arrested or detained or deported, or there's some visible consequences to institute deterrence. But we'll have to wait and see what Mark Carney does about this, because he wants trade with India, apparently. He's invited Modi. He's, fixed CSIS in some way. CSIS is now decided that the sky is in fact blue, the grass is green, and Khalistani terrorists threatening to kill everyone are actually threatening to kill everyone. So this is the first major test of, okay, when it comes down to like an open terrorist attack in Canada, an extremist attack, they're posting about it. What will Mark Carney's police force justice system do about this? And that we'll have to wait and see.
Daniel, in a bit, to reset the ties, we have seen Prime Minister Modi met Prime Minister Ghani as well. Do you believe, what would be your expectation? Do you believe Mark Ghani will take action? It will be different from the Trudeau response, according to you, looking at how the things are working out.
Yeah, this is it's hard to know because Canada, in defense of Mark Carney or Justin Trudeau and a softer approach, Canada has a bit of a is not like America in the criminal justice way. I mean, we tend to. I mean, the entire world tends to view itself through an American lens, and not just an American lens, the type of America that exists on television. So, American television shows. That's our sort of view of the justice system. But Canada is very much not like that. So, whereas the American system tends to do trials more openly. Public has access to all this stuff. Canada's MO has always been to keep everything hush hush and completely under wraps until the trial is completed, and then release information to the public all about that. So don't expect any like big declarations and press conferences from the Canadian police claim they got their guy. But I do hope that something is done because again. Individuals did claim responsibility for this. So, in order to deter this, you're going to need some sort of strong response to the RCMP. And if they don't, arrest everyone, like there's going to have to be arrests made within I think within a few days. You're going to need to see arrests in order for there to be some deterrence. And in Canada, it's a very top-down system, cults of personalities. So it ultimately does fall Mark Carney because we can pretend that there's a separation between the federal government and the judiciary, but the SNC-Lavalin scandal showed that that's absolutely not the case. This is a country where Mark Carney, if he decides to enforce the law here, the criminal will go to jail, and if he decides to not enforce the law, the criminal will not go to jail. So it ultimately will fall. I mean, Mark Carney, Prime Minister, also Premier DVD of the NDP, hardcore socialists. I don't expect them to do anything. But they both have the power to enforce the law here because, again, that's kind of how Canada works. We pretend it isn't because it says so on paper, but that's absolutely not the case in reality. So I would be. It is interesting, and I don't want to be too pessimistic. If Justin Trudeau was still Prime Minister, I'd say nothing would happen. That would be my bet. But we haven't seen how Mark Carney handles this. And Mark Carney actually has been taking steps to repair the Canada-in relation, and this is his first major test. So I would not be surprised if Mark Carney does something here, which is a positive development for Canadian politics.